I'm convinced that if the Apostle Paul had had access, a model of the modern symphony orchestra, he would have used it, just like he used the body, as an image of the church. He would have used the orchestra in all of its fantastic complexity and conflict and artwork and authority and political shenanigans and all this stuff. It's just a fabulous model for how many different, dramatically different things combine together to make one complex thing. An orchestra doesn't work unless I am for the other. It won't work. Unless the second violinist is for the violas when they have the melody, the orchestra won't work. It doesn't play properly. It doesn't work musically, it doesn't work communally. So it's being for the others. I think the orchestra is also a marvelous metaphor for how we did work within Christian formation too, because I succeed when somebody else does their best. So it, in fact, serves me when I help you to shine, when I help you to do your best. There's a sense of humility on a number of different levels. There's humility before each other. So when I'm playing a supporting line, I've got to play quieter because I'm supporting otherwise it doesn't work. There's humility before the text. Let's proceed on the assumption that Mozart knew what he was after, or that the Apostle John knew what he intended with this. We have humility before this text that we share. There's humility before those who lead. There's humility before music itself. I mean, there's a whole bunch of wonderful overlaps, I think, with that. I think whether it was working with Barnabas' team, whether it was working with in Christian formation, or whether it was with the orchestra, it's about learning to do my best and helping others to do the exact same thing. I think the other aspect that makes orchestras work is this whole cliched, overused term of community, where I celebrate the gifts of others, some of whose gifts are greater than mine, some of whose gifts are lesser than mine. We talk at length in orchestra, and quite openly in orchestra, on the very first day of class, when all the freshmen arrive and everybody's gathered together for the first time for the year. And I talk about the marvelous way that God is so unfair. And isn't it spectacularly appropriate? There are people sitting here in this orchestra, and you'll learn your part for this 50-minute long symphony in a week. Because something, the way you're wired, it just clicks, and you learn it in a week. And then there's another person here who will never quite get it, and they'll struggle with it. That can be a source of great conflict, or a great tension, or of greed, or of abuse, or of jealousy, or it can be a source of tremendous joy, tremendous community. That person who can learn this part in a week, they're mine. They belong to me. Isn't that cool that our orchestra has these people that can do that? And I do everything I can to help that person shine. And if I'm the person that can learn it very, very quickly, I am so quick to give away what God's given me. So how can I support? How can I help out? How can I suggest fingerings? How can I suggest? So that aspect of community, I think, is hugely important. When we used to put our Barnabas team members together, we would purposely pair people who were very different. We took a number of personality profiles in this, so we would put an extrovert with an introvert. We'd put a thinker with a feeler. Part of it had to do with development, so that you had to get along with somebody who saw the world very differently than you, and that made for all kinds of wonderful conflict and problem solving. But it also had to do with learning to celebrate when somebody succeeds at something that's different than me. So for the extrovert who was perfectly comfortable standing up in front of the whole dorm Bible study, the introvert was just thrilled that person could do that and was poured gasoline on the fire. Go for it, go for it. And when the extrovert or when the introverted person needed to have that quiet alone time, that study time, or that one-on-one careful listening quiet time, the other rejoiced in that person's ability to do that. And it worked when they weren't threatened by that. It worked when I wasn't threatened by somebody doing something I couldn't do really well. That works in an orchestra. That works in an orchestra. I mean, as a conductor, I don't make any sound at all. I depend on people doing their job well and rejoice when they do it well. So that's another aspect of that, I think, of how orchestra informs and spiritual life informs the orchestra.